Well, okay, here's where the rubber meets the road with my foretold phrase. It depends. Um, Nothing could be more contingent than this question. Look, the modern era is distinguished by the phenomenon of economic growth. And economic growth is what we have to thank for science and education, for advances in health, in the human lifespan. Just about every feature of modern civilization that we cherish is made possible because of economic growth, because of the way we have found to create surplus. But does this serve the common good? Well, now I'm afraid I have to skip ahead a little bit in your questions, because whether or not our insights into the kinds of mechanisms that produce growth and therefore give us the opportunity to serve the common good, whether or not that opportunity is fulfilled really depends upon the ideologies into which these economic insights and discoveries and inventions are embedded. And here, of course, we come up against another key part of your interest, which is capitalism and the relationship between economics and capitalism. So you've brilliantly prefigured this as an ecological, a problem of ecological reasoning, and my more simplistic approach, I call it Russian dolls. Each one of these layers is nested in a larger layer, which is nested in a larger layer. And the way I operate is that I think of economics as being nested in financial ideologies. And a premier financial ideology is capitalism. But capitalism itself is not something that can be defined a priori. Its definition depends upon what it is nested in, because capitalism must be nested in society. And society is an entity that's moving through history. So there are times in capitalism's nesting in society when we find that societal principles, for example, the principles of a democratic society, then envelop capitalism and hold it in this home, in this nest, where democratic principles prevail. They balance the inclinations of a radical free market vision that is endogenous to capitalism. They balance those inclinations with these exogenous principles that become nested and become ultimately intermeshed with the practice of capitalism, and therefore filter down into the way in which we choose among potential economic inventions, innovations, mechanisms, and so forth. So what we have really is a situation where, when we ask the fundamental questions about economic growth, is it sustainable growth? Is it inclusive growth? Is it a form of growth that advances authoritarian principles? Is it a form of growth that advances democratic principles? We cannot answer those kinds of questions about, quote, economics unless we understand that in this whole perspective of the nests within the nests. And this is where our disciplinary thinking, really has hobbled us, I believe, in the kind of holistic grasp of economics as a lived experience, economics as the the means through which we produce a flourishing civilization.